Well, this is fun to come down to Comic-Con and get back 8 or 9 of the child actors we used over the years.
I'm just proud to be a part of it, and to see some of the original cast is a pleasure.
Whenever we get to meet each other, we have this instant bond based on our shared past of playing these characters.
Together again for the first time. This was Lucy on The Great Pumpkin Show, among others. And this is Peter Robbins, who was the original Charlie Brown. And I knew him and directed them when they were 10 and 11. So the whole thing is kind of surreal.
Good grief.
Up until the time we started recording for the Charlie Brown shows, it was usually adult actors who played children's voices.
And that's the beauty of the Charlie Brown specials, is all the kids were kids playing the voices. That was kind of unique at that time.
Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about.
And I think people just really fed off of that and learned the voices that went with the characters.
I have a pretty face. How come you can talk to me?
They sound absolutely naturally correct. You know, when you read the strip and then you hear the voices and you hear how these performances were done, I mean, I think they're spot on exactly what you would want them to be. I think it was absolutely a risky thing for Bill and the producers to bring in voices that really not trained actors.
Interestingly enough, one of the reasons we couldn't sell Charlie Brown in the beginning to the networks or to sponsors, they didn't think we could do the voices properly.
I think that you have to take yourself back, though, to the time. It was a time, you know, in the 60s when people were taking more risks. And luckily, that found an audience then, and it became the pattern, and all shows followed it. But I don't think you could go out today and sell that.
They never give you a chance.
Charles Schulz took a big risk when he allowed Bill and I to go and animate his characters. So Bill and I and he sat down to discuss the voices, and we decided that Charlie Brown should have kind of a blah voice, and Linus should have kind of an innocent voice, and of course, Lucy, you know, kind of a yelly teenager voice, I guess you might say.
Schulz created everything, but these actors helped give them life by giving them their voice. So these original characters, these original actors, are the voices. They're the archetype for these characters.
In the beginning, we used all professional actors from Hollywood, and we went through the talent agencies and did the regular auditioning.
What do I do?
Well, it was kind of like a star search, but it was actually a blockhead search.
But as the years went by, and because I lived up in San Francisco, I started to just go into classrooms in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades and see if we could find voices that matched. And so we ended up using a lot of kids who had never done anything before or since. They were just regular kids in my neighborhood.
And it was a family effort. So I think at that particular time, Lee wasn't aware of how big the shows would be.
Tell him Peppermint Patty is on her way. So long, Chuck.
And it was local talent. You were running through the office and it was like, your voice would be really good for Pigpen.
How did you know it was me?
When I was 4, and mind you, this is all due to nepotism. When I was 4, I was indoctrinated into the Peanuts world through the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show. I played Rerun.
My name is Rerun. What is your name?
My sister actually worked for Lee Mendelson. So my sister brought a tape recorder home and recorded my voice, and Charles Schulz thought I'd make a good Violet. And as I say, then I was promoted to Lucy after that.
Rena, here. Violet, here.
And the DeFerias, all of whom played Peppermint Patty, their father was my partner for years.
And my father was working for Mendelson Productions.
We were all in San Francisco, sitting around a table, and Lee was there, and they were killing themselves over what to do about casting this Peppermint Patty character.
And Lee was with us, and I reached across the counter and said,
She says, please pass the mustard. And we said, that's Peppermint Patty.
Lee did one of his, that's it, that's the voice.
And I'm going to spend all summer having clean thoughts.
Hey, Lee, that's my son, and he sounds just like me. Max, say, hey, Chuck, how's the old ball game?
Hey, Chuck, how's the old ball game? Hi, Chuck. How's the old ball team?
That's the sneakiest audition I was ever a part of.
so it's really funny. We have a very consistent, gravelly voice tone in our family.
Peppermint Patty, yo!
The experience back then of making them was, we were just little kids. I had the coolest thing to brag about at the playground, because those guys were superstars back then.
At the time, I was 5 years old, so I had absolutely no idea what I was getting involved in.
I'll just have to make the best of it.
I don't think I realized how big it was at the time.
And for a kid actor to be one of those voices was, nothing could be cooler.
And from that, it snowballed and became the phenomenon that it really is now.
I was 7 when he started doing this. I remember very well going down to Coast Recording down in San Francisco. And
Charles and Bill and Lee, they would take each of the characters individually and bring them into a soundstage, and they would tell them how they wanted the lines done.
I just read it the way I would try to stumble reading at 9, and I had a low and very raspy voice that, in Charles Schulz's mind, captured the essence of depression for a 9-year-old.
I don't think I'm gonna get much sleep tonight.
It was a kind of a challenging thing because some of them were 6 and 7 years old, and we had to feed them one line at a time, or sometimes a couple of words at a time, and then splice it all together.
A piece of toast? A pretzel stick? Popcorn? What blockhead cooked all this?
So I don't know if we were really acting as much as we were copying exactly what he did. So that incredible sort of childish tone, that's really attributed to him. He had a very specific idea of how to get kids to perform the way that Schulz had intended the series to sort of be read.
The only problem with it was that as soon as I hit puberty, I was retired and forced out of the business, so.
And some other young lad had to fill those depressing shoes and voices and T-shirts of Charlie Brown.
I was okay with it. Yeah, it was just on to other things.
Well, it really wasn't that emotional as you might think, because one, I was getting to be that age where I'd rather play tennis after school with the girls in Newport Beach rather than drive to LA to do a voiceover.
I know what I'll do. I'll write her a note. Dear little red-haired girl.
Today I live in Oceanside, California with my dog Snoopy, which is an English Stafford Bull Terrier and Beagle mix.
I work as a veterinary technician. I own a sculpture studio, make sculpture.
I have a health food store and a 10-unit apartment building.
Well, I've been in law school and business school.
I work as a real estate agent.
Just very busy doing everything but voiceover, actually.
I'm a mother. I have a 12-year-old daughter.
I work as a script supervisor on movies.
I do work in the film business now.
And I mentor women on the side.
I work at Warner Brothers, and so I guess we can trace a line there between the two.
Which shows you if you get your start on Charlie Brown, there's no telling how high you can go.
There's the experience of doing it. Now there's the experience of years later seeing it and experiencing it sort of a second time around with my own children. So it is so different than the video games and the sort of jammed-in entertainment that they're exposed to every day.
People ask me all the time why these shows have endured for so long. And I think a lot of it had to do with we were lucky that we got child actors who were so good.
People have always loved Peanuts, and it lasts and it endures, and we all feel such a great joy and honor and privilege to have been part of that.
And there is a sense of real innocence.
But the main endurance, I think, comes from the Schulz philosophy, the Schulz wit, the Midwest values that he had. And I think they've endured because his ideas, he kind of spoke for the common man, I think. And I think people sense that. And of course, he said there would always be a market for innocence in this country. And I think that's another reason that the shows have endured so long.